The final DLC for WWE 2K24 has arrived. The WCW Pack is now live. I got some thoughts, impressions, goods, bads, and what they could do differently. Overall, I do like the pack. I think all of the character models look very good. I think all of the scans are good. Their entrance motions are accurate. Moves are really good. I like DDP's Diamond Cutter. I like that Iron Sheik has got things like a spit taunt. And Great Muta's mist is green and it sticks to the guy's face. Generally, I feel like 2K, they kind of nail all of the motion captures, facial captures, and how the models themselves look. The attires, not too many complaints there, although I would say I wish that, for example, Mr. Perfect had an alt attire. I wish that Lex Luger had a different attire. It feels just very generic. I know it's accurate, but it feels very generic. One of the positive bonuses they gave us was going to be Fall Brawl Arena, a classic WCW arena that works for not only singles matches, but also war games. You can recreate just some classic WCW moments now, having these additions to the roster. I know we have seen them in previous WWE 2K games. I understand that it is a licensing thing with Legends contracts and such, and what WWE wants in their game, what 2K can do. And so for some people, I totally understand if they feel like, hey, I've had Mr. Perfect before, I don't care. DDP has been in the games in years past, it's not a big deal. So I can kind of see both sides where people are coming from if they're not totally stoked about this DLC. Because some people will say, I don't want WCW Legends, I want new NXT stars, for example. But within this DLC, I think they've done some good stuff. Additionally, you got little details like Mr. Perfect being able to take down the singlet if you press R2 and down on the D-pad. You also get special commentary lines, which is always great for every DLC when they add in the new superstars. You're always going to get the commentary to talk about the different superstars, and I really like hearing all of that, especially when you get into specific matchups, WrestleMania entrances. They will also identify them if they've had big WrestleMania moments or matches. You do like Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart, they have specific commentary together. Put them all in WCW arenas and try and mix and match with different superstars to see what different commentary comes out of it. Although I was disappointed that Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan, there's no special commentary there. They should have done that. Cheeky, baby. I like the advertised. You got 55 new moves and taunts in there. The move list looks great. And even things like Great Muta's face paint actually breaks down as the match goes on. And I love details like that. But there are some things within WCW Pack and DLC as a whole that may not click for some people. One of the critiques I have is Legends Trons. I'm sick of it. I think it comes across as lazy by 2K, that they're not taking the time to try and put together a Titantron package or grab one from WWE, and certain superstars do get Trons and others don't. Michelle McCool, as an example, does get a Tron entrance instead of the Legends one. I got Lex Luger and Mr. Perfect, and they got the Legends Trons. It pulls you out of it. The Titantrons are part of the whole thing, and it is part of the package, so to speak, of what you're paying for within this. You're looking for the accurate music, the entrance, the look, the feel, and the Titantron. It's part of all of it that goes with that entrance. So I wish that 2K for future games, for 2K25, they would try with these Legends to get the Titantrons in there if it is possible. If it's not, well, then I understand. We can't get everything we want. Another critique is, and it's nothing that we're owed by any means, but it would have been nice for them to continue the trend of additional weapons. We didn't get any other weapons added in like we've seen with every other pack that we've gotten. We did get the Fall Brawl Arena in the War Games, so that is a nice bonus. But it would have been cool if they were able to add in any additional weapons to the game. It would have been cool if they added in, I don't know, any alt baseball bats, steel chairs, classic blue chairs. Make those unlockable. Thumbtacks, any other weapons that they could see that would work within a WCW pack. This was a great move by the devs, I feel, of adding in more weapons. It gives you a little bit more with the game to utilize, but I do feel like for next year's game, they do need to add in more customization for weapons. Bring in classic weapons or just allow players to go in and add decals and change the colors of certain weapons, and that way they can kind of customize and have fun with it. Another critique for this, it goes along with the patch too that always comes with these DLCs, but there's no additional fixes. Yeah, I'm lumping it in with the DLC, but patch updates are things that we want. We want better servers, we want fixes to universe mode. Their players are wanting fixes and updates even this late into the game, and it'd be a good time period too, as the game is kind of winding down, for 2K to try something new or try to incorporate something or bigger fixes so that they're going to have those kind of standard into next year's game. I know that everything is winding down at this point, but you still got a large player base that are wanting to play this game and that are still wishing for fixes, from community creations to servers for online play. They're looking for all of that. And what's interesting too with the DLC, Great Muta, he has 2 attires, which is great. You got a standard one and you got one with the black face paint. That's awesome. But I'm left scratching my head why Great Muta was allowed to get 2 and nobody else was. Why couldn't I get alternate versions for Lex Luger, like Lex Express, and give us that attire in the game? DDP with another WCW version. Give us like DDP rib tape. Like, he's always had rib tape in the 90s. And the thing is too, is that by giving us like Muta with a alt attire with a face paint, it shows me that the devs can go in there and set things as like alt attires as standard. And I think that that's something they should take away for next year when they give us 10 John Cena's and 5 Rey Mysterios. And I understand that if you don't do them as alt attires, it's probably because their Tron or music or motion is different for that version of them, like Rey from WCW versus modern day WWE Rey Mysterio. But a lot of them are just attire, alt attires, and everything else is the same. So just mash them all under alt attires so that I got one John Cena with every other version of John Cena underneath instead of taking up all of these slots. And I think when it comes to attires, that they could have added more creation parts in here too. Lex Luger, for example, I think the model and everything looks awesome. I'm very happy with it, but I do feel like you could have added in more attire parts for him, or you could have changed the attire. It just feels a little boring and dull for that to be the pick for what you're using for Lex Luger. And also, if you look at Iron Sheik, and this could be patched as a quick fix, and I don't know if they're able to do anything. Small detail, but Iron Sheik's flag. It's great to have Iron Sheik back in the games, but his flag is very glitchy. It's very stiff looking. It doesn't flow well. And you'd think that this far into the game's life cycle and the generation of consoles, that they could get motion going and getting into work, because it looks very glitchy. Even things like Mr. Perfect pulling down the strap, I've encountered it where it's actually bleeding through and glitching for his singlet. So the blue is actually coming across in the black and it's melting together a little bit when I pull the singlet down. There are things like that that I wish that they would do a little bit better focusing on. Now, what could they have done differently? We got the goods in there, there's a lot, and we got some of the critiques in there too, but there is some stuff that I wish that they would do differently when it comes to DLC, and specifically with this pack, what they could have done differently. Number one, I think they could have added in more arenas, more classic WCW arenas. Fall Brawl, wonderful. I'm actually enjoying it and I'm using that and playing war games a ton, but it makes me realize, man, it's really nice to be able to have classic real arenas added into there for DLC. And if it's a WCW pack and you're celebrating WCW with 5 superstars, you probably should look at things like the Alt and Nitro arenas and adding those in. I would have tried to add in Thunder, Starrcade, other pay-per-view arenas that were classic for WCW. It would mean a lot for fans. And it could be licensing, and I don't know if WWE has the licenses to those names and all of that. I believe they do. And I'm thinking of like Starrcade or other ones, and they used a ton of them now for like NXT. So it would have been really nice if they went one step further. If I was to do something differently, I would add in more of those arenas and make it more of a celebration of WCW. The other thing is 5 superstars versus, well, more. The Global Superstars pack gave us 7, which I like, and that's probably like one of my absolute favorite packs they've done for the whole game. In the WCW pack, a lot of these stars we have seen in the previous 2K games already, like we mentioned, so it would have been cool if they added even more superstars to the list. Now, you guys tell me who you would add in there as classic WCW, and even within reason of who's under a Legends deal, who they may have even had potential to get for a WCW pack. But I would have loved to see Conan, Billy Kidman, Raven, Sting if you could convince him to get a Legends deal and sign up. Sid would have been awesome for WCW. I think there's more names they could have added in. I know you're trying to find a healthy balance between trying to give value to players and all that, but you did give us 7 superstars for the last pack, which is awesome, but I think that you could have done even more and given us 6 or 7 stars for the WCW pack, especially that it is coming in to being the final pack of the whole game, and players are going to be waiting several months until the next game comes out. It's a rock and a hard place too when you think about it, because you know that the devs in 2K are going to want to hold certain things back because they got to make DLC for the next year's game. So you can't kind of overdo it and give players too much, because then they don't have stuff to necessarily work with for next year. I think they also could have done fun surprises. It's a long shot, but with Goldberg making appearances back with WWE and on good terms with the company, I think it would have been a really good move by 2K to put Goldberg back in the game. It's the first year in many years that we haven't had Goldberg in a WWE 2K game, and I understand it's the contract's up and then he's not in the game, but all the assets are there. Just grab him from last year's game and just put it in there and put him with the WCW pack as a free bonus. Goldberg is such a huge piece of WCW during the Monday Night Wars, and I am bummed out that I got DDP and I can't do like DDP versus Goldberg or Lex or using Mr. Perfect and matching them up. Would have gone a long way for me to be able to get a classic WCW version of Goldberg added in and his modern version, do the alt-attire thing. And again, I harp on that a little bit because the model is there, and I'm sure that if Goldberg is going to sign a Legends deal or has, then he's going to be in next year's game and then everything's all fine. But it would have been a goodwill move to players if they said, hey, Goldberg's back, we put him in this pack, no additional charge, and he's in there and you're good to go. Now for next year's game, and as we've gone through all of these DLC packs, and I'll probably do a review of the whole game to date, like how we have finished off this entire year with all the season pass content. But one thing I would love for them to do differently and, well, bring back for next year is going to be specific story arcs, storylines to these DLC packs. If we're still going to get the tried and true method of 5, 6, 7 superstars and DLC packs for 2K25, I wish they would go and do the thing they did before, which was give us the specific story arcs and give us a 1-2 hour story piece for multiple pieces of DLC in next year's game. It would have been a lot of fun to be able to revisit old classic WCW feuds by utilizing DDP and Hollywood Hogan, Mr. Perfect Bret Hart, Perfect and Roddy Piper, and their feuds with WWF and WCW. All of that would have gone a long way for me. It kind of builds off of Showcase, and it gives players even more content to enjoy. And you can add in additional unlockables in there within those kind of mini showcase elements. Was the WCW pack a hit or a miss? In my opinion, it's a hit because I like having all of the classic content. I think the addition of Fall Brawl War Games is great. There are things I wish they would do differently because I'm a big WCW fan and I wish that we got even more. But what did you think? If you guys want to talk more WWE 2K24 and 25, click this video right here. Have a great day. See ya.